We are each other right now. Rip. It's okay. You don't perceive. Droopy is Meech and nope, and it's okay. We're having a good time. Good morning, everyone. How are you all? uh, that's all right. It'd be like that sometimes. Do you want to introduce yourself first, Droopy, so I can fix this?
Yes, I shall. Good morning, everyone. Welcome to Humans of Twitch. My name is Jupiter. I use she and they pronouns. I am a queer Latina creator here on Twitch and other platforms. And I'm really, really excited that we're back. It's been a couple weeks and it's nice to see everyone again. And we're very, very excited about our guest today. B, or do you want to go or shall we wait?
Yeah, I can.
Okay.
My name is B, obviously. I use they, them pronouns. I am a queer and disabled variety broadcaster here on twitch.tv. Um, Sometimes recently I want to say unfortunately after I say that, but it's fine. We're doing great. Um, but yeah, and we are here today with the wonderful Mijaa for our show, Humans of Twitch. If you are not familiar, it is a talk show we do once a week on Sunday mornings or Sunday time zones, depending on where you are in the world, where we talk to really cool creators and we talk to them about, not only what they do here on Twitch, but also, how did they wind up here and what kind of things bring them joy and happiness outside of streaming. Mijaa, do you want to tell everyone about yourself?
Uh, Um, I'm Mijaa. I am a queer, trans, Latinx content creator, both here on Twitch and outside of Twitch. Pronouns are they, them. Outside of Twitch, I do a lot of, well, also on Twitch, I do a lot of advocacy work for the QTPOC community primarily and BIPOC. And outside of Twitch, I do the same thing. I am within my second to last semester getting my degree in art therapy and really focusing on working within the community and utilizing my degree in trauma to talk about racial based trauma. Yeah. And then I also have my little
Your
baby.
baby. Both
Yeah.
both of you have the babies out today, and my heart do melt a little bit inside.
It's a cozy Sunday.
Very much so.
So,
Um,
what's your baby's name again, Joopy?
Olive.
Olive and Chi-Chi.
There's
yeah.
Here for the cat content. I will say, I think almost every single interview we've had so far,
been
um,
an animal.
there's been an animal, and usually
Hmm.
somehow a conversation about cats.
Yep.
Uh, always.
It's a
um,
theme. It's a theme for sure.
it does make sense since the majority of the people that we have interviewed have been queer in some capacity, and
I
I
was
feel like
just
the
about to
queers like the
say.
cats.
Queer
I was like
people
the
love
queers
cats,
like cats.
as they should.
Here's my proposition to you all as to why that might be. I think it's because people who don't like cats don't understand boundaries because
Hmm.
cats are very like enjoy like me like as much as I want to be perceived and touched and whatever, whereas like most of the times dogs are like, you can pet me like pretty much any time.
Hmm.
And I feel like us queer folks actually understand boundaries.
Yeah,
Very
and
true.
like you can't dictate what a cat's behavior is going to be. Like it might be
Hmm.
more introverted or extroverted. Like I when I met Chi Chi, it was that she was scared of everything, would hide all the time, and then now she just wants love, sits on my chest, like very sweet, just wants to be around me. So you can never dictate what their personality is going to end up to be,
Right.
I love
and that's the boundaries. You don't
Mhm.
Queer people love boundaries and cats.
Quote. Queer, yeah.
Yeah.
Quote.
Truly a match made in heaven.
Oh my gosh. Cute. Cute, cute, cute. Drippy, do you wanna start us off with a cue?
Absolutely. All right, Mijaa. We're so excited to have you here today. So thank you for joining us.
Yeah.
And the first question I have for you today is how did growing in a queer Latinx headed household help shape who you are today?
Oh goodness. And always my mm, just my viewpoint on everything that I do has to do with where I grew up. The advocation work came from personal experiences of discrimination, personal experiences of both harassment from adults and the children that were being raised by the adults, never feeling like I was really fitting in. Um, and watching society in general not be accepting of my family. Um, that was a very difficult part, is that I grew up in the South. I grew up in Florida and grew up in a town where um, it wasn't ever seen. And it was, it shaped everything that I ended up pursuing as a career. I ended up pursuing personal kind of want for education. It pursued the space that I hold for my friends, family, how much I value chosen family because that's what I was given. Um, I learned actually how to do my makeup and how to do my hair from my Uncle Jason slash Aunt Shalita. Um,
That's amazing.
hmm And just I think my empathy is a
Hmm.
huge part of how I grew up. Um, Really, essentially getting bullied by people who had their own opinions and biases against what my household was without noticing just the loving parts. And also, there were bad parts. It's a family. Um, and yeah, I mean, growing up Latinx and then also having my other mom's side of being Jewish was really interesting. We had so many different celebrations that were almost like parallel, or not parallel, but like off. And our like the food that I grew up on is so weird. Like it's really weird. Like you can give me a bowl of like matzo ball soup and I'm so happy, and then in the next, the next day you can give me picodillo and I'm also happy. And like um this is kind of a hard question because it's like there's so many complexities to what I even internalized from other people's behaviors towards me. And then I also took as strengths and I grew from by their behaviors as well.
Right.
And I think the viewpoint that I have um, on the world is only really understood by other people that grow up in a queer headed household, but all of them now are younger because it's
Hmm.
now more accepting. So finding people my age that were born in a queer-headed household is like
Hmm.
what a needle in a haystack. I can't really find it,
Yeah.
but um, it's unique for sure.
It is. And it's funny, or it's not funny, but it's interesting to me that you say, a lot of what you're shaped by is just kind of like how other people treated you, based on their preconceived notions of what your family is or stood for without knowing them and without seeing like, the love and the support in your family. And it's really, really sad, that that's how it has to be. And it is becoming more widely accepted, obviously, for like queer-headed households, and but we still have a lot of work to do.
Yeah. I mean, I know that it wasn't just, and this is something also I really want to pinpoint, is it wasn't just the people that were not within our family. It was also, there's so much internalized homophobia
Mm.
within Latinx
Mhm.
culture that, there were a lot of things that I won't go into detail, but that my abuelita, my grandmother, would say and feel, and hearing those things, and also like hearing them later on in life because I wouldn't understand it as a kid, um, was just really disheartening. And you have to kind of like just live with that, because my abuelita is
Mhm.
like super old, and at this point, like, the homophobia is strong within that one. So it's
Right.
like you gotta just ignore it and go on, which is really sad. I was just talking with someone about that the other day, about how it really is a privilege, for white individuals to be able to discuss, um, being queer in terms of the vernacular you can use,
Mhm.
and how you can explain something, versus I can't speak to my family like that. I have to use very simplistic words that might not translate over well. And it took some time to like grieve that I'm also dealing with homophobia within the culture, and then also it's really hard to like translate over,
Mhm.
and they might not know every part of me.
Right.
And, you know, being okay with that, I guess, in a sense. Um, yeah, it's a weird thing to take in, I guess, when it comes to Latinx culture.
Mhm. It's very weird, and so many other cultures aren't really fighting this kind of language battle that Latinx people are, trying to figure out, especially like us, our younger generation. Like our generation is really trying to say, like, no, can we say Latinx for everyone? Can we have inclusive language, even though obviously the language is structured around gendered language and that's how it's
Hmm.
been since the beginning of time. But just because that's how it's been, just because that's how, we've described these things, wouldn't we want to make an all inclusive world where everyone in the culture can feel, accepted and have that language? And yeah, I mean, you can't even go on Twitter without seeing someone post something about being Latinx and see a comment underneath it that's saying like, "Oh, it's Latino," And it's like that's a whole nother battle on top of the homophobia that we have to face. So it's difficult. It's difficult.
Homophobia, misogyny, mental health, just like like a disappearance. There's nothing about
Right.
mental health because my father immigrated from over here and worked very hard, which I definitely, I say that in terms of like, it is totally understandable.
Right.
Like, you fought to get to this country, and then you had to work God knows how many jobs.
Mm.
Um, Totally valid. But at the same time, uh, Tia, I have severe depression.
Right.
It's not safe. And they're like, you just need to get up and work. Um, yeah, there's just so much internalized stuff within Latinx culture, and I can only speak for that culture. And yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you for sharing that. It's always I always look forward to discussing this with other people, in the Latinx culture because I feel so often like older generations feel like maybe we're trying to like belittle their struggles by like introducing our own, but that's obviously not at all what anyone is trying to do. Like all of these things can coexist and we can have respect for all of these different struggles, and still, obviously fight for a better future for ourselves,
Yeah.
for our future children, and obviously for future people to hopefully come to this country and other countries and have a good life. So,
Hmm.
yeah.
Very much so. I mean, I completely agree with everything you're saying. That as generations, keep occurring, I'm seeing so many different changes. Even just the fact that growing up in a queer-headed household when I was younger, I can see the immense amount of difference from growing up in a queer-headed household and, let's say, Gen Z,
Mhm.
and just the language and the understanding, and because like religious parents would tell me like, I'm essentially a product of Satan.
Oh yeah.
And it was like hearing that as a child, what do you say to that? And that I was um when I felt comfortable, because I was a kid, like a teenager, I was curious about religion, spirituality, and I went with one of my best friends to her church, and I felt comfortable at one point, and I expressed that I have two moms and love them very much, and so on and forth, and I was told, brought to the side, that I can never enter that church again.
Wow.
And, that's what I mean is there's so much complexities, because there was so much said to me
Mhm.
that the only understanding that I can sit and feel heard as somebody who grew up, even maybe before me, but within my generation and growing up in a queer-headed household, because ooh,
Yeah.
people had no sense of, like,
No
I should
filter.
shut my mouth.
There's
Yeah.
no filter. There's no filter whatsoever. And I partially I empathize with you because like I was partially raised by like a two grandmother household like before
Mhm.
I was adopted. So like very, somewhat similar. And I have had similar church stories of a pastor telling me like, well, you're a product of sin. So, unless you figure that out, basically, you're not gonna ever be welcomed in like a church in a religious and I was like, okay, that's cool. Then I don't want to be here. Then that's all I need to hear.
Right, right. But how are you supposed to, like, you were born in it. What are you
Right.
supposed to
I think
do?
I was 13 when I had that conversation. And it's like
Mhm.
looking back on that, I'm like, why was I having that conversation with an adult? Like, what is wrong with someone that you would say that to a child?
I think that's most of my reflections, as I'm working on, because I have so much inner child healing. It's insane from other people, what they put on me.
Yeah.
And the majority of things that really stuck with me is that adults were saying this to me. Adults were taking a child aside or making faces and putting their own hatred
Hmm.
into my vessel.
Yeah.
Mm.
And
It's
I
perverse,
internalized
really.
that. Yes.
It
Like,
really
you're a
is.
full ass adult. I'm a kid. That's not, you know, and they might, sit there and be like, My kids are everything. Like, I love kids, da da da." And then they look at me. And like I said, there was like church people who said I couldn't go and that I was a product of Satan. It was like,
Yeah.
only one person said that, product of Satan, but that stays with
You'll
me.
never
Mm.
forget that, you know?
Yeah.
It's,
People
yeah,
don't realize how much work like those types of comments can stay with you indefinitely. Like, and you can unpack it and unpack it, and unpack it till you're blue in the face, and it's still just
Right.
like it sits there in a different way. And I hate that
Yeah.
like they get that much power over you in a way, but it's just like I don't know. Our brains latch on to the negativity, and we're already our own worst critics. So then when like we have other people's voices in our head adding on top of what we already struggle with, especially for those of us with like mental health and mental illness, like it's just burp 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 endlessly like stacked on one top of another.
Yeah.
yeah.
It's exhausting.
It
It is.
is.
It's really exhausting. And that's the thing, is those things stay with you. And I think that's where I'm at now, of just being really proud of where I came from, and just being proud of my parents for several things that, like, they had to go through, and what they fought for, that all the protests they did, because they used to live here in the area where I'm at in DC. All the protests they did, our chosen family, where I would just grow up and I would be like, oh, this is Uncle David and Uncle Len, and I was like, these are my uncles, when really it was chosen family.
Hmm.
And growing around that is so vital to me, and how much I admire the people that were around me raising me, because it really did take a village. And I think before I felt defeated from the words that people were saying. And now in my life, I'm 26 and I'm starting to finally take out the survival mode that I've been put in. And now I get to like really have identity development and being able to sit there, even in like academia, and be like, damn, you're just completely erasing, any kind of differences, and everything you're practicing is heteronormative. And you need to open up your lectures and your presentations and speaking on how proud I am of where I come from, and I don't want it erased.
Right.
And I would have never been able to do that before.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The power of the perspective that you hold now and how that can inform your work, the world around you, your relationships. Like, it's not easy to grow up in a, non-normal, I don't know, what do people call it,
Like like
Non-typical.
household,
the like
non-typical
nuclear
nuclear
family.
family
Yeah.
Yeah.
environment, but the to where you are now you get to like thrive and really see all the benefits, because there really are so many, and it's amazing.
And it's like a lot of it's a lot of like new things. I remember, I think it was like early 20s, where before I told someone that I was in a queer, I had two moms and they were like, what the fuck is that? Or they were like, that's weird. Um and sorry, I don't know if I can
You're fine.
cuss.
You're
Is that
great.
okay?
Yeah,
Okay,
you're
okay,
fine.
okay.
No
I should
worries.
have asked.
You vibe.
And now I tell someone, oh, it's so cool. It's like
Yeah.
so cool. And I'm just, and there's also biases in that, because
Mhm.
people are like, oh, your house life, your should have been like, it's probably awesome. And I'm like, it was a family.
Like there's
Right.
Like,
still
It's my
challenges.
family, yeah.
like my
Yeah.
parents got divorced, like, or separated. Like, it's a family. Things are occurring,
Mhm.
and it's not the most amazing thing just because it's two moms in the household. You're taking on both the internal stuff of two individuals and problems that they're having, and then also taking on society's placement on them. So there's even more,
Mhm.
stress. And
It's impossible for that to not, sometimes come out in ways that isn't, it's not the family's problem, but like you're stressed, and so that's going to show up in how you maneuver the day-to-day life, cuz you're a human being that has to like process all those feelings and emotions.
yep, exactly. Only so much like a human being can kind of take in. Um, and yeah, so I try my best to hear my parents as much as I can, especially now. Like I said, I get to have identity development. And a big part of that is I want to hear my parents' history. I want to
Mm.
hear what's going on, or what has happened. And, um, there's a lot of grief with that too, because I'll hear stories and, listening. I think it's very important to listen to older queer folks and their stories. Um, so being able to hear certain experiences and things that have happened, and there's a lot of grieving, because it's like, you're my parent, and yet I still just want to hold you because you should have never been told those things. Um, you as a, partnership, you should have never felt that way, even within our own family. Um, but it's almost like a good grieving, because I'm able to cry it out and be like, fuck that. I'm gonna make a better world. Like, that's not gonna happen
Yes.
to someone, kind of thing.
Yes.
Um, and it's such a good feeling now. I have passion rather than I have, anger and sadness.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, that makes me so happy to hear. I feel like every week on this show, I'm obviously constantly inspired by all of our guests. And I'm just so happy to know that like this is our world now. And like
Mm.
we are changing it. We are making it a better place. We're making it a world for all of us. And fuck yeah. That's all I gotta say.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah, listening to you, you are such a magical human being. That's all. Thank you. Um,
I think you're magical. I don't know.
I mean, I was just thinking back to what you were saying about, this is not really a question, simply a thought, but what you were saying about, like adults talking to you in ways that adults absolutely, like, should not have been talking to a child. And it reminds me of in university, I studied, parentification a lot because my parents like very much they were addicts, and they very much asked me to like be their therapist sort of as a kid, and so I was introduced to like adult topics really like early on. And it just, it wasn't until most recently in my 20s, kind of like you were saying, that like I started to like play and just
Mhm.
explore. And it's like Twitch has been a very interesting part of that, and like letting myself enjoy something like video games with my friends. Whereas like growing up, like there was just like always this need to like just
Be the adult.
be
Yeah.
the adult in the situation. And also like I really wanted to get out of the environment that I was in, so I was trying really hard to be like a perfect student with like really good grades and a really good resume to like get myself like to have that
Mhm.
trajectory to be able, because I didn't see any other way out of the situation that I was in. And it was just, I don't know, it's just interesting the long-term effects that has on your ability to just rest and exist and play and be with your friends, and not, constantly have such high expectations for yourself. It's a lot.
Yeah, I actually really resonate with that because the only reason I started playing video games and even streaming was I was talking to a past therapist, and we were doing, inner child healing. And she just asked me one day, and she was like, "Did you ever, like, what did you enjoy when you were a kid? Like, I know we're working on heavy stuff, but like, did you like anything?" And my first thing was like video games. My parents really liked video games, and my uncle Seth loved video games. So it was very much kind of just all around. Like my first game was Ocarina of Time, or is that how you say it? Like Zelda.
Yeah. Hmm.
And yeah, as soon as academia started, I was very focused on getting out of Florida. Um, that was my sole focus. And I lost, video games. And all of a sudden I picked it back up, and I can't believe that I ever put it down because B, you're totally right. Play is so important. And as adults, it's like you forget that.
Hmm.
Yeah. Can we talk about the really good gifted student to queer video game content creator pipeline, because it's real. It's real, okay?
It's like we used all of our stamina to exist in a traditional capitalist job, and now we're just like, okay, well, we gotta
And
find another way.
it's so funny because now it's like, yeah, I'm getting my degree. Of course I am. I'm 2 semesters off, but now the ideas flowing of like, I wonder if I could do content creation with my degree. I wonder if I could do this. And I would have never thought that like 10, 11 months ago.
And
Yeah.
my degree was like a build your own degree, and I took a lot of like counseling courses as well, and social work courses. And sometimes I do really like Twitch for the space of like being able to host these conversations with folks in, but like removing the element of like the the red tape that
Mhm.
you run into within the systems, like if you're working in a traditional sense. Because I remember working at like universities and just I had to like really knock down people's doors to get them to let me do things that I thought would really benefit the students. And it was always like a huge fight. Like I remember my senior year, we were working on a project called Breaking Down Barriers, and it was supposed to be like a huge art display. And it was like in kind of reclaiming words that had been used against marginalized communities. And um, I had to essentially get permission and convince every single head of every identity-based department, was like the task I was given, to be allowed to do the event. I had to go sit and talk to the director of the Disability Student Union, the director of the LGBT Resource Center, the director of the like religious student center, like and I had to get them in the counseling center, and I had to get everybody on board. As a student, like I had to go around and basically pitch this to them.
Yeah.
All because my director at the time of my program, the one that I would have been like running it through, where I was getting the money and the funding and stuff, was like, too afraid that it was too like spicy, right? To have like the slurs written out and then for there to be like this action and stuff. And she was like, what if it gets misportrayed or blah 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 blah. And it was a lot. It was a lot. And so that's one thing that I really like about content creation, is that I feel like I can host these conversations in ways that are truly like suitable to the people around me without worrying so much. It's not like I have to pull my students aside and be like, in my last job, it was definitely a lot of like, I'm not supposed to tell you this, but like, I'm going to tell you this because this is what you need to hear. But, I'm required to tell you this other thing in front of everyone else. But, things like kids would want to take a gap year, but it's a college prep program, so I'm not allowed to tell them. I'm supposed to convince them to go straight to college because we get better points for our grant if they go immediately. But that's what I'm telling them during the presentation, and then when they're asking me later, I'm like, no, like if you need a year off, like you take a year off,
I
right?
wish I took a year off.
Me
Yeah,
too.
exactly.
Yeah.
It's exhausting, and
That was never even presented as an option.
Same.
and so it's kind of just like, it's hard to want to work in those like it's hard to do the good work you want to do in these environments. And so that's something about content creation I really like, is you're curating a space and you're allowed to talk about things however you want to, and with no requirements of like certain professionalism. Like if I want to tell you to fuck off, like I can tell you to fuck off. Like I can curate who can be here, right? Like I don't have to deal with Joe Blow from Kokomo who works in the office who's like, homophobic and like have to like try to walk on eggshells around them. And it's very nice.
Very much so.
But also, like, it shouldn't have to be that way. We should be able to work like regular jobs and not be treated like garbage. But anyways.
Yep. Yep. Yeah.
Yeah, it's something. It's something.
It's a good start. It
is a good start. And I'm really intrigued and proud even of the ways that our different communities are changing, even like Twitch and the landscape of what it can look like to be a content creator and to create a space here. So it's very good.
Very much agree.
It's a lot, but it's good.
It's a lot, but it's also, I've never really had the network of friends and content creators, like collaborators, just the band of queer friends. Like I've never had all of these queer friends. And I couldn't be more thankful for, the leap I took to start that first stream, or I wouldn't be where I am. Yeah. And I wouldn't have these friends that I value so highly and I love talking to and playing games with. And it's such a weird, it's one of those feelings. It's like if I didn't start this first thing, my life wouldn't be where it is now.
Especially because for most of us, that first stream was so chaotically, like, not intended to be a big thing. Like, most of us had no idea what the fuck we were doing when we hit go live that first time. And then it was just like...
I was on my MacBook playing League of Legends. on the webcam, so it was like tilted up. All I had on was the fucking the light, like the key light, so bright directly on my face, and it's a MacBook. So
No, Meej, does that stream exist somewhere?
God, I don't know.
I don't know.
I think I have a clip of one of those, and
I have a part
uh,
of my first ever stream saved, and I go back to it sometimes just when I'm like really struggling, just to be like, okay, like we have come a long way, gamers. It's okay.
I don't think I have my first stream saved. Thank goodness. I
I have I believe a clip of when I finally hit 50 followers and was able to get affiliate, and I was playing Portal with like a friend of mine, and my friend is in the background like, Meej, like, I'm like, come here, like, what are you doing? And I'm like, I just
That's so sweet.
Oh my
Mhm.
gosh, it's precious. It's like I gotta sometimes really work hard to like go back to that level of like appreciation for every single stream and every single follow and every single person that you get to connect with on this journey, and not get lost in the sauce of like the, where you want to be and focusing so hard like on where you want to be that you lose the joy of where you are like right now in your journey
Mhm.
as a content creator.
That's so true. I am battling that every time like I hit that go live button,
Yeah.
and it's hard, and that's even like a thing in your personal life as well, is to have just be in the present moment, appreciate where you are, and take it, as cliche, take it one day at a time and
Mhm.
continue moving forward. Um but yeah, it's hard. It's so hard to be in the present moment
It is.
and just be like, wow, this day is not going to occur again and I should really enjoy it.
Mhm.
Um, or I'm not having the spoons, I'm not feeling well, and I should rest my body because this day requires me to rest.
Mm.
And uh I feel that is a difficult thing.
Yeah, I
Yes,
mean,
it
I've
is.
really been working on trying to remember that, like, our time, like, that we are where we are in our journey for a reason, even if we really can't understand it right now, even if it doesn't quite make sense to us as we are in the present moment, like, thinking about, um, you know, there are things you need to there's are ways in which you need to grow as a content creator and as a person, and that we have these things we really want right now, whatever that might be for you in your particular moment, whether it's like growth of your community or a particular like brand you really want to work with or hitting partner or whatever those things are. I try to remember that like maybe we're not ready for reasons we can't understand yet, and we need this time to grow in the ways we need to grow so that when that happens, we're ready and prepared to like take it on the way that like so that we can best take it on and really see success with it, and that it's hard to remember
Mhm.
because you just want what you want when you want it but
Yeah,
also
yeah.
yeah, it's also like yeah, but it is true because I look back at some of the things and the opportunities that I've already had and thought, if I had that earlier, I wouldn't have been ready. I wouldn't
Mm,
have known how to handle that and really take advantage of that opportunity for what it was.
Mhm.
And
very
so,
much so.
but
Very much so.
hindsight's 2020, which is a beach.
Yeah,
I mean,
sure is.
at first, I would have never, imagined being offered a spot on a stream team like with you, who I, I, I still like, I look and I like watch it and I'm like, this is so warm and comforting and they're so great and I'm their friend. And it's like, and then now it's like I'm their friend and like quote unquote like like collaborator, and it's yeah, I would have never imagined streaming was going to be something. Honestly, it's COVID. I wanted to like reach out to someone,
COVID
and
babies on Twitch.
exactly, there was such an uprise, and you know.
It's a really weird time though, because can we talk about like how many people are like leaving now? Not only because of
Mhm.
like, we have this component of like the state of Twitch being garbage, right? But we
Mhm.
also have, even before the hate rates really amped up, I did see like a transition of folks who are like, they're returning to like not necessarily the way life was before COVID, but the expectations of them to be out of their house and things like that are higher. And so it's just interesting seeing, it's interesting, sad, hard seeing people who you really, appreciated being a part of their space, and now that space just kind of like,
Yeah.
you
Mhm.
know? And like, it's understandable. You want people to do what they need to do. Um, but it's just weird. It's really weird
Mhm.
to see and process as I see people just, and seeing who decides like to dig their feet into, streaming even more and really like
Mhm.
try to stick it through, and who decides that like this isn't quite for them for a multitude of different reasons in life.
Yeah. There's
Yeah.
there's a huge transition right now happening, and I don't think we'll fully see the effects of it either for quite a while. Obviously, and really until Twitch gets its shit together, that's going to be a huge component
I have
to
such
whether
a
viewers or streamers want to stay on the platform. So,
truly, well, and I have such a big fear right now with the hate raids and everything that like, I feel like marginalized streamers over the course of time have truly changed this platform so much
Mhm.
already. And I hate knowing that very likely, Toasty and I have talked a little bit about this because they've streamed like 3 times. And now it's like, and some of my other friends who were like new to streaming, like not hit affiliate yet or like just recently affiliate, and how like this is really deterring new marginalized streamers from joining, and what that's
mhm.
going to mean for
Mhm.
those of us who stay, and also what that's going to mean for the trajectory moving forward. And like, it's just going to be interesting because I feel like there's going to be a lot less of us um, because of it, which is hard. I think it was
Yeah.
Lucia, I think, said the other day on Twitter, like, the sadness of seeing, they were talking specifically about trans creators, and like each time one of us leaves, it's a gap because we each have our own like very individualistic experience, and people search and search and search for like someone they resonate the most with in their trans
Yes, they do.
experience.
Mhm.
And because every one of us has a different like combination of identities and lived experiences and games we play and vibes we hold, and so every single time one of us leaves, it leaves a gap because there was already so few of us.
Mhm.
And it just makes my heart hurt for, you know, beings coming to Twitch looking for community the way that I was when I first joined the platform.
Yeah.
Very much so. Like I I can't even understand how it must feel being um, part of the marginalized community and coming in right now trying to be a baby streamer. Because at the very start of mine, my first thought, and said to my parents, said to some friends, I'm like, I'm queer. I look very gay. Like, I'm gonna get hated on. Like, I understand, and I understand that with anything I've done in the past of content creation, this is the only thing I stuck to, but that,
Mood.
um, I'm not a white cisgender straight male and I will get shit on.
Mhm.
And, but I don't think I would start right now with knowing about the hate raids. But would I even know about the hate raids if I wasn't involved as I am within the Twitch community?
Very
You
likely
know?
not. Very likely
Maybe
not.
we would think so, but then I've seen some really small creators get hit too because of the tag system now. And I don't blame the tag system,
Mm.
like, I want it there, but like, I do think that even really small creators without like a big, leg to stand on are also being impacted by this.
Oh,
And,
they are.
like Eva, I've seen it happen to some of my friends and folks who are smaller starting streamers and
Yeah.
like growing beans. And it's, like Eva said, like the only reason that I feel like all of us are sustaining through this is that we have community. And it scares the shit
Mm-hmm.
out of me for those small, growing streamers who don't have anyone to turn to, and this is happening to them.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's just like, it's hard. I'd like to see some, like, I think we're all sort of trying to figure out what to do, and I feel like one of the things I definitely, nobody has spoons either, right? So we're all like trying to figure
Mhm.
out how the fuck to like continue our content creation and continue the fight. And but all that aside, like I would love to see like more creative ways that we come together in like community in like healing ways. And like yelling at Twitch is very important. We need them to hear us, but I also think in some ways there's like a gap between that aspect of this advocacy that we're doing and the advocacy that like sustains us and keeps us like
Mm-hmm.
the aspect that keeps us going, and that is like finding community and being with friends who understand what you're going through right now. And you know just seeing the other day, like we created the Discord with some of our friends and seeing how many people immediately were like, oh my gosh, no, I've been in the same boat. Like I definitely was feeling lonely and unsure and missing, like didn't know how to connect with other people who were going through the same thing. It's like, oh, like we're all going through the same things but just
Mm-hmm.
didn't know how to, because online relationships are very weird. Like you have so many amazing friends, but also like how do you connect with them
Yeah.
sometimes is like a challenge.
You can feel very disconnected from everyone very easily, even though
Yeah.
we're all experiencing and feeling a lot of the same emotions.
I think it's also the fact that, and it trips me up every time how I'm having such a good time on Discord and everyone's like good night, and then I step away from the computer and I'm physically alone.
Mm.
Yeah.
And I'm
Mhm.
like,
Or when you end a
this is the
stream.
weirdest thing, yeah, that I
Mhm.
feel so much love and care and excitement and all of this stuff, and then everyone says good night, and you kind of turn around and you're like, oh, yeah, I'm not like in a room full of people, because it definitely feels like that. You're so
Mm.
engaged.
Mhm.
And um yeah, it's really weird.
Psychologically it's a little
Yeah.
bit weird. it it,
It's just
it
like
is.
meta as fuck. It's like, oh.
You're so
Yeah.
interconnected and also at the same time so distant, and I think it's been interesting also navigating like the different levels of friendship that can happen in this space too, right? Like you have acquaintances slash mutuals who you support and you like watch and you enjoy, but that is like a very parasocial relationship. Like you really don't know each other, and then there's like a middle period where you start to like develop a true friendship with someone outside of just like the work that you do. And then there's those friendships that maybe you like even meet in person, and like you really, you might do like Discord video calls, just the two of you, and you really like start to share pieces of yourself with them. But God, it's hard. Yeah, Mick, making friends on Twitch is really hard. And then,
Mick
the
is actually someone I just met in person for me moving. Mick helped me move,
Nice.
and that was the weirdest thing. And I also met my friend Charlie.
Mhm.
Both are like my best friends, and seeing them physically in a room was so weird.
Mm.
It was so weird to me. I'm like, "Oh, I hear your voice. You're in front of me,
Mhm.
and I get to like run up to you and hug you anytime I want."
Mhm.
And it was so cool. I was like, "Wait."
It's really cool. I also met some of my Twitch friends recently for the first time in person. Some of my mods. It's just, I mean, there's also always this element when we talk about making friends on Twitch where so many of us have been burned so many times, which makes us so resistant and sheepish to
Mhm.
connecting with people again, because so many people have like
So
ill
many.
motives, like really, uh, like really um, sneaky vibes, and it's a lot. Um,
Mhm.
I know I've been burned a couple of times, and it has definitely created a hesitancy for me to like open up as much to people, especially new folks, and I hate that. I hate that because I consider myself like a very open, giving everyone a chance type of person, and
Yeah.
but it changes you to like a time and a time again to like open yourself up to someone in a very vulnerable way and really really believe that they are good people, and then turn around and have them do shit like that. You're just like, oh fuck, like the internet is
Yeah.
weird, like the way. And my experience has been that that person isn't necessarily like underlyingly like a bad person, but this industry also changes people. So I have had friendships where that person was a good person. I connected with them very genuinely, but over time that they spent in this particular field, which can really like have such negative effects on you if you get lost in it and you don't touch grass and you don't stay connected to your purpose and your why, and those people can change, and then you're just like,
Mm-hmm.
oh fuck. And you add to this dynamic of like, I feel like a lot of people really trust, you know, my judgment of people, and they're like, oh yeah, like if B advocates for them, like, I should go check them out and stuff, which I love and appreciate because like I want to cheer on my friends, right? And I appreciate that folks like also go connect with my friends and that we can help each other in that way. But I know after that happened with that person, I felt immense guilt that like now people think that's a good person, and there's not really a good way for me to communicate that I like no longer am connected to that person or support that person, because there's
Yeah.
it's it's really complicated and confusing.
It
It
is.
is.
And you know what,
Yeah.
B? Like I've had this experience in the Twitch space, but actually with someone that I was friends with in real life before coming to Twitch. And then, we exist in the Twitch space, and I kind of find out that we don't vibe together, which is fine,
Mhm.
but now like it's even weirder because it's like I know that person in real life, but you just have to let people figure it out on their own, like unless obviously they're like a murderer as an extreme example.
Yeah, or
You
like they
know?
do something, if they did something like actively like
Right.
racist or
Like
homophobic
heinous.
or something, I
Yeah.
would definitely. But it's just hard
Which
because
has definitely happened, like first
Oh, yes.
encounter,
Oh, yeah.
and they drop a slur, and you're like,
Right.
I gotta go.
I'm
I,
not.
uh,
I
I'm
gotta
busy,
go. I
sorry.
gotta go.
yeah,
No, I've
no, exactly.
it's
How do
been
you?
hard,
It's
like
really.
having online friends, and there's these encounters that kind of really shape you. I think I tweeted the other day that, and it's not a joke, it's true, where I am taking a hiatus from developing deep connections with new friends. I am just at my limit um of these. There's only been two occurrences so far, but they hurt.
They do.
They
They
hurt so
sting.
much. And
Mhm.
it's like, at my core, I do not approach anyone immediately and think that
Woo.
they're, bless
Bless
you,
you.
Sorry.
that they're a bad person,
Right.
or that, I don't believe in the term of like somebody is born inherently evil. I don't think I think it's how you're shaped and nurtured and cared for. Um, but there are people who have made really bad decisions, and I can still look at it after and go, you're not a bad person.
Mhm.
But these decisions, I hope you grow from them. I hope you
Right.
realize the hurt you've caused, and I hope you continue doing your work. Do I think that you're going to? Probably not. Um,
the
but damn.
this the struggle I have with it as well is like, what is my responsibility and how do I communicate with folks to keep other people safe from their behavior? Right?
Mm,
Because
Mhm.
there's this element of like, I now know because I've heard you talking about the ways in which you essentially plan to use people. What is my role in then like protecting those people and letting them
right.
know that this person doesn't have genuine intentions towards them, without then like becoming deeply invested and dealing with, it's very complicated, and
Yeah.
what
It
is the
is.
space for them to figure that out themselves and make those decisions for themselves, and also how do I then cope when that person is all over my timeline and in all of the spaces that I'm in?
Yeah.
Because
That's
nobody
such a big one, the
knows.
spaces.
Nobody
Yeah.
knows what happened, right? And or some people do, but maybe not whoever's leading that particular space, so they didn't know, right? Like I, get invited to things and I start seeing people trickle in who are like associated with that person. And I'm like, when's it gonna happen?
Mhm.
When's it gonna happen? When they gonna get here? Because I'm not stoked to see their face again. But it's just like really difficult. And I think that's true in real life too. Like anytime, um, you have people who are vaguely associated, like with they we have like mutual people we know, right? So then that happens where they wind up in spaces you're in, and it's just like it's really hard.
The spaces you're in part is the really difficult part for me. And that wasn't, a hard thing for me when it came to like in real life friends that I could maybe go to a different place or I could do this or explain to my friends, oh, I'm just not, friends with them anymore. And then I could block them on social media and I could continue to heal. But within being a Twitch streamer and all of you being within the same network of people, um, you'll see them in other streams and they'll just
Mhm.
be talking, or, you know, you just see somebody retweet something if you haven't blocked them. Um, and the it's just
It
it
is.
was
It's hard,
really hard.
and sometimes I see folks who are, engaging with their content, and I know that they started engaging through me.
Mhm.
And I don't know how to tell them that, like, so it's a lot, and it's definitely taxing on your mental health to have to share spaces with folks who have hurt you in that way. But at the same time, what am I gonna do? Like, never take an opportunity that that person is a part of? Like, that's not
Mhm.
fair to myself either. So
Yeah.
it's really freaking complicated.
Yeah.
Or like something else that I think I talked about on stream the other day is when because you know because online friendships are so transitory sometimes, where they fade in and they fade out without really like any kind of closure or anything that particularly happened that caused that relationship to change. um it can be really hard when someone slowly starts like disconnect themselves from you, but like nothing happened. There's
Mhm.
no
Mhm.
real reason for it, but you don't know how to like can't necessarily bring that back. It just is what it is. People have the. It's like hard knowing that like there's this two simultaneous pieces of information, and it's one that like no one owes you an explanation if they decide
Mhm.
to disconnect from you for whatever reason, and at the same time the human brain wants to understand why our relationships change, and
Mhm.
not knowing when is an appropriate time to like ask someone like, hey, like what happened is like, and also giving people that space to just like decide that they need to disconnect from you for whatever reason is like something that I like grapple with a lot, of like
Mhm.
trying to like not be toxic, because there's an element of like, I don't want to ever come off, and maybe I'm just like an overthinker and like an anxious being probably, but I never want to come off as the type of person who it's similar to like if you get, banned on a Twitch stream, like don't come to someone's Instagram DMs and being like blah 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 blah. So like if someone disconnects from me, sometimes I'm like, is it really invasive if I ask them? If I like slide into their DMs and ask them what's going on, and I never know because parasocial relationships are so weird.
They
Feel
are
like if you
weird.
get banned, I don't know. I saw like things on Twitter, of course, that were like, do not do that. It's not like an appropriate thing. But I feel like if I'm within a stream and I'm within a community, and then I just get banned out of nowhere, and it's not something I was actively doing in chat or something I was doing outside. My first initial thing is because I don't enjoy if I have the opportunity to come to closure of something, even if it's not a positive closure, even if it's like somebody telling me they really don't like me and da da da. I'd rather have that.
Mhm.
Um, so I'm not afraid of confrontation. And so I will message and I'll be like, "Hey, you know, if it's something that I did, can you hold me accountable for it and I can understand?" Or if it's just like out of the blue, what the fuck? Like what happened? Is it
Mhm.
I respect your decision kind of thing. Of course, your space is your space. Um, but
To be
and
clear,
they
I
don't have
wasn't
I yeah.
banned anywhere, but I just it's just a thought, it's just a thought. Even like someone like unfollows you or just stops spending time with you. I have
Mhm.
like very similar questions, it's just like,
Mhm.
if it's just like life got really busy or you had to invest more time into like another relationship, because like there have been times where I had to step away from spaces that person did
Mhm.
nothing.
Mhm.
And so it's like I can completely understand that happens. I recognize that not everything is about me, not everything is something I did wrong, but it would be nice if I wish there was a greater level of transparency with
Mm,
these relationships online. It's kind of like recently I made a tweet and I was like, I am my Twitter time. I'm first of all, I'm way too addicted to Twitter, and second of all, part of the problem is I am following way too many people and trying to like actively keep up with all of these
mhm.
people, and it is taking over my life. Um, and so I was like, I need to clear up my timeline to more people who I have like a very like a more of a direct connection with.
Yeah.
Um, but I made that tweet to say specifically, exactly, Eva. Yeah, I get anxiety and then I jump to conclusions about like it being something bad that I did. But I made that tweet to say like if I unfollow, like you didn't do anything wrong. Like
Mhm.
so that you can
Mhm.
move on and not feel like I hate you or you did something and there's some like dramatic reason. And I wish there was more of that so that people could just like process and heal because it does suck to like not know what's going on.
I think that's what the easy, quote unquote, easy part about being online and having social media is if you want to ghost someone and you want to just disappear, you can disappear from their life. Um, is it responsible? No. You are
No.
hurting this person, and you know there has to be some responsibility and accountability that this is another human being and you might really hurt their feelings. And even if it's a hard thing to address and to say, this is what happened and this is what I need to do to take care of myself. Because I've definitely talked to people before and said, I'm not blocking you out of hatred or anger. I'm blocking you because seeing you posting is really hurting my feelings and I'm just need some time away. And if I come back, I come back kind of thing. And I've got responses that are very negative and
Mhm.
I've got
But
responses
that's
that are
on
very
them.
accepting from them, yeah. Um, but at the end of the day, I look at it as it's my responsibility to do that. It's my responsibility to take care of the level field of like our connection, our relationship, because I would like that in return. Someone being
Mhm.
honest and accountable. And, you know, I even made a tweet about that, kind of like taking back away from making from doing, I don't know what I'm saying. Anyway,
Words are hard.
um, words are really hard. Um, in that, in the online space and then also just in my personal life with the identity development, I'm understanding that I do not have the capacity anymore um, to make continuing friends that do not hold people accountable for their
Mhm.
actions, that just stand
Mhm.
by.
Mhm.
And, there's different occurrences that people might stand by out of anxiety and so on and so forth, and that's not what I'm talking about.
No, and I feel like you can sense the difference.
Yes.
You can
Yes.
sense the difference very much so. I have friends who I know exactly how they feel and exactly how they carry themselves in their space, and in their private life and all their conversations. They are right on the money with like their advocacy and everything, and they're still not gonna shout on the Twitter timeline because they are a very anxious being. That's just like not how they're gonna address things, and that's very different from the huge populace of streamers who
Mhm.
just toe the line of every single issue. They want to play all of the fields and be friends with everybody, and it's fucking annoying.
Yeah.
And it's probably my least favorite thing. I think I dislike that more sometimes even than people who take a very harsh stance that I think is very fucking wrong. Like I'm like, yeah,
Mhm.
you're just like wrong, but at least like
At least
you're
you're
bold.
passionate.
At least
Yeah.
you're bold and wrong. It's like it's the people who are, they see being friends with everyone as an opportunity to grow,
Mm-hmm.
right? And so if I befriend everyone and I don't make any strong, um, if I don't make any strong
Yeah.
statements one way or another, then I'm not burning any bridges. And then that way I can benefit from
But you're also not
everybody.
standing for anything.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
But it
And you're
doesn't,
not showing your even just like allyship for things,
but
you
to
know?
them, it doesn't matter, Meej. They
Yeah.
don't care because they only care about numerical growth. There isn't like the same level of thoughtfulness that ourselves and our friends have for how they're curating their space. They just want everybody. They don't care,
Yeah.
and that they are not creating a space with any sort of values understood at its core. It's just a place of where people congregate all together. And it's like, this is how we get streamers who then their community acts like shitty human beings, and they're like, well,
Mhm.
I can't control them, I don't know. It's like, no, that's only because you set no boundaries in your space and set no values for like what this space allows and who's allowed to be here, and that's on you.
I think that's also going back to the original question of growing up like within a queer-headed household and Latinx household, is that I've never had there's been many occurrences where I never had the opportunity to look the other way and
Mm-hmm.
not advocate for myself,
Mm-hmm.
and the people around me. There wasn't an opportunity. So if I see you there kind of like shying away from it every single time and
Mhm.
not
Mm-hmm.
having a stance, you are not a fucking ally to
Mhm.
me. I'm sorry, you're a performative ally. You
Mhm.
want to
Mm-hmm.
look like you give a shit about this stuff, but what if something happens and you're not protecting um the people around you
Yep.
because you're worried about how people view you
It's
but
also
not
a
about your own
huge
accountability?
it's a huge privilege to be able to be like, oh, it's complicated, right? Because I don't want to say this too broadly, but it's also a huge privilege to be like, I'm too anxious. This makes me uncomfortable. You don't think it makes us fucking uncomfortable? Like, it's not a fun time. Who wants to
No.
do this? None of us want to do this in the sense of like, none of us want to have to defend our existence, but and the our space and like have to so fiercely protect it to the point where like we can't even be as open, right? But like at the same time, it's just like, meh, 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 meh. Yeah,
I
words
think
are hard. That's why
defending,
I just made sounds.
yeah, that's perfect. Defending our existence is like that's what it is a lot of the time.
Mm-hmm.
And
Hmm.
so,
You can tell who hops in and hops out. Like Mick said, we
yeah,
don't get to clock out. Like you can tell who is invested enough that they say something, but they also get to clock out of the conversation when they want to. And
mhm,
and you know who's just as bad as those who don't talk at all is those who only talk when things are um, trending
bad.
and
Yes.
bad. right?
They don't celebrate, the achievements or just celebrate the person in general. Because just like Mick said, on the clock 24/7, like you shouldn't just speak out when there's disaster. You should
Mhm.
also speak out and appreciate when there's growth
Mhm.
and love and care. And it's just a lot.
It's
It's
a
a lot.
lot. And it's, not only that of like celebrating marginalized creators' joy, which we yell about on the timeline 24/7, it's also, I also see folks who I really do feel like hop on the bandwagon to talk about these things when they feel like it's going to garner them traction for their space and for
Mhm.
their growth. And it's really icky. It's
Mhm.
really icky. Like, you're doing this for your own benefit and you're not even a part of the community that's hurting. I once saw an individual make a tweet it, to like defend a community they weren't a part of. And then when that tweet gained like a lot of traction, they like put their like Twitch underneath the thread. I was like, "Can you
Oh
fuck
God.
off actually?"
Oh
Because you
no.
clearly weren't in this to support, the community that you are supposedly, standing up for. In this tweet, you were here for yourself.
They
Mhm.
did not understand the assignment.
Yeah. I don't know what they were thinking,
Oh
but I was
God.
just like,
That's
I
embarrassing.
was like, sir, please, can you,
Hmm.
yes. Mm. Toasty asked if we can ask Meech the like happy question you like to ask Joopy.
Oh, yeah, let me remember what it is. Gosh, it's been a couple weeks. Okay, so one of our favorite questions that we like to ask before, well, just to like take a break from our frustrations that we all share
Mm.
and experience some joy with you because we want to celebrate your joy is like what is your ideal day away from the computer, away from the screens? What is your favorite thing to do offline?
Um, I am a huge coffee person. I
Ooh.
was a barista and a barista trainer for about 5+ years. I think like 5 to 7 years. So I was shut up, Toasty, not the coffee.
We love coffee here,
I
okay?
love coffee. So
What time
I
do
was
you like to drink
working
your coffee, Meech?
10 p.m. I like to drink it at 10 p.m. because it
What?
relaxes me. It relaxes me.
Oh, that's amazing.
Yeah.
That takes it to a whole nother level.
Exactly, exactly. I No, but so I have my whole like little setup in my house with like an espresso machine. I make cold brew. I have like this cocktail shaker thing, and that's how I make my coffee every morning. And it's almost like it's such a joyful kind of thing, even though I just sound I just sound like very like uppity, like I'm making my coffee this way at home. But it is such a joyful moment for myself every morning.
I love that.
Um and I guess I really enjoy spending time with Chi Chi. Um I enjoy listening to audiobooks so much. They
Ooh.
help me like if I'm playing just this mindless game on my phone, which is similar to like Candy Crush. It's called Two Dots.
Oh, not you playing a
Um,
dad game too. I always make fun of Toasty for their dad game.
it's so just like simplistic. Um, and listening to audiobooks and definitely art at the same time. Um, Not at the same time, but doing art in general. I have just like I'll do acrylic on wood pieces.
Ooh.
I used to do ceramics, used to do printmaking. I'm
Everyone
trying out
is
digital.
loving the two dots in the chat, by the way.
Hell yeah. I need to know levels. I need to know levels.
Ooh.
Um, but yeah, I mean, that would be about it. I I enjoy a lot of solitude. I'm very
Mm.
much an introvert, very, very much. I can only take a small amount of social time. Um and I just enjoy my life where I'm at currently. I'm in my first big boy apartment, 1 bedroom, 1 bath, and I get to lay down. Chi Chi lays next to me, and I get to watch documentaries.
Well, that's the
And
life.
yeah, that's, you know,
I love you so much. I can't. I actually
It's
can't
wonderful.
deal. Like having you on here. I know you're like our guest and it's very formal, but it's also truly just like vibing with two wonderful friends and
yeah,
my whole heart is squished.
I
I'm
love it.
Uh,
glad that you're living your best dad life, Meej, because I really want that for you.
God
And it
damn!
sounds, it sounds like you really are. And it's just
I
like
feel like our whole friend
Living the
group is
best
just a
dad
bunch of
life when I never
dads.
had a dad. I don't know what it is.
that's why you have to, because you didn't get that
I gotta
experience.
be my own
So
dad.
exactly, you're having that experience for yourself, and I love it.
I can't actually deal with you. I love you both. Oh goodness gracious. Somebody asked, what have you been listening to lately? What have been your favorite audiobooks at the moment?
Oh, so I am actually reading, it's kind of like a sequel to Call Me by Your Name.
Ooh.
It's called, hold on. It's called Find Me.
Mm.
And so it's just really kind of like romantic and very good. Are you laughing at something? I don't
Yeah,
know
I'm
what you're
sorry,
laughing at.
Rowan. Put in the chat, Daddy. Sorry.
Daddy, sorry. Daddy, sorry.
I'm
Daddy,
sorry. And I
sorry.
was trying to, like, you were talking about the books, and I was like dying over here inside.
I told Rowan I was gonna make a TikTok with the sound "Daddy, sorry" and just like pictures of their like pictures of them in the corner, and I'm like, "Daddy, sorry. Daddy, sorry." um, but yeah, Find Me. I'm listening to The Body Keeps Score, which is a trauma book.
Moo. That one is so hard. I wonder
Heavy.
if being like an audiobook would be better, but I've been
I'm gonna
trying
write that
to
down.
read that book in like book form for so
Uh-huh.
long. I don't know where I put it, but I it's way more sciency than like I expected it
It's
to
about
be.
neuroscience.
And I
Yeah.
was like, oh, my brain hurts. I read like 7 pages and I'm like, okay.
It really is how your body processes trauma and how it
Mm.
lives in your body, and the evidence that they give you of where it sits and how it translates over the years, sickness you can get, like all
Mm,
that kind of stuff is for me really interesting and informational, and specifically for like both my professional work and then my personal life, because like I said, it's just a lot of trauma.
yeah, my
um,
chronic pain I think is really interesting in regards to that. I won't tell the doctors that because then they'll dismiss you. But I do
Right.
definitely think a lot
Yeah.
of like my chronic pain is from trauma.
I
I
think
I really
there's
want to
mm,
learn about this now because I've always wondered if
mhm.
I mean I feel like I always knew that these like it was a possibility for things to manifest in you, like, based on like the experiences you went through as a child and otherwise. But yeah, I mean, all my life, like I didn't have anxiety, and then suddenly I have anxiety. It's like, how does that happen scientifically? Like
Mm,
there is a process there.
okay.
Neuroscience is a huge thing that is really interesting. I'm also reading My Grandmother's Hands, which is
Ooh.
Radicalized Trauma and the Pathway to Mending Our Hearts and Bodies. And it's talking about white supremacy and the unconscious and conscious decisions. Kind of the same thing that Mick said, where we don't get to clock out,
Mm.
is somebody will have biases. Yeah, everybody has biases, but will act on them in an unconscious discrimination or hatred in some kind of form, and they can kind of address it and apologize and do their thing, but the marginalized person has to consciously take that in and continue, and how it damages um neurologically, your brain and functioning and survival mode, and how it sits within the body as well. I do a
I-
lot of
Wow.
trauma reading.
Add it to the pile.
Okay,
That just made me
so
think of. That's what we
like
have to do.
Fran's Discord book club when?
I agree. It
Because
Oh.
the
needs
way
complete
I would
testing.
like love to like, well, I think we could all teach each other things. Like we're
Oh,
all very
definitely.
good like beings with big brains in different ways, and
Mm-hmm.
I feel like it would be really cool to like talk about these things with other people because like you read it, but it's also really cool to like process.
I forget what book it is, but Mick just ordered it to read with me, and it's by Angela Davis, and I think it's Prisons Are Obsolete.
Ooh.
Yes, Are Prisons Obsolete? And I started reading it. It's a very short book, and it is just talking about dismantling the prison. Um,
Mm.
like in words are hard. Dismantling prisons, they're not needed. Like they're how to go about reforming and radicalize change. And Angela Davis is just so. I did one finger and then this. I don't know what happened.
It works.
You get the point across, you know? That's it. That's all that matters.
I think I saw someone put their two dots level, and I
Yes,
think I pulled mine up.
it
I
was
am
Joe.
on. I am on 1,959.
Oh my gosh.
Wow.
I have been playing it
Esports.
for a couple of years.
Esports!
Esports.
Mage professional two dot player. When?
I've just been playing it for so many years because it was put on the App Store as to help with anxiety. And I was like, bitch, I need this. And then I got it and I've had it for years. Yeah.
Well, it's helping with something.
Now I need to explore two dot. Now I want to know what's
You
happening over
gotta
here.
it's so simple. And then this is the most embarrassing thing. I look at my App Store every day to see if they updated the scavenger hunts that they do. It's my favorite thing in the whole world.
Such a
It's
dad
very dad. It's
life.
very dad.
Dad life.
I'm learning what
Hashtag
a
dad
dad
life.
is.
Okay,
This is
I'm just
cool.
gonna rename our friend group like dad friend group or something because I feel like we're all just a bunch of dads.
But it is the only game that I have on my phone that I buy things because for the scavenger hunt, you can't get it without some coins to
Not the
finish. Like,
gotcha.
Not the
uh,
coins,
they give
Meech.
me all the time. And it's like around New Year's and Thanksgiving, they have multiple scavenger hunts, and I lose my shit. It's the best gift. It's the best gift. It's my favorite. Yeah.
Okay, here's what I want to say. Please hold. Jupi, you want to ask a question while I'm being a
Yes.
hooligan? I'm gonna be a hooligan for a second.
All right, it's hooligan time.
Hooligan.
All right. Well, this is something that I wanted to ask. So I want to get this one in as someone who is also femme non-binary. What is something that people misunderstand about being femme non-binary, and what has that experience been like for you?
Um, it has been it's been difficult with how much I get mispronounced.
Mhm.
Just because of my presentation. I I like I usually do femme makeup and then masculine wear. It feels really comfortable, and the only reason I do femme makeup is I feel very handsome and I feel really cute, and like I enjoy the skill that I have with my makeup, and it's like a really enjoyable and artistic kind of way to express myself. But I definitely have had experiences where people devalued my non-binary identity, where people, said if I'm trans, I should be more androgynous. Also, even though we don't owe you androgyny,
Mhm.
um, and just a lot of dismissing behavior. Um, which sucks. And, sometimes I take it in and I'm kind of like either, oh, I should be more androgynous so people, finally shut the fuck up and they like to, they care about this way. Or, should I just go back to she, they because it's easier? for people, which I knew when I was doing that I was using the pronoun she they. For me, I was accommodating for the
Mm.
people around me, because I didn't want to get mispronounced all the time. And my close friends would use they and them, because I said that's what I prefer. And it was so exciting for me. I was like, wow, I feel really good. Like, this feels like what it's been.
Mhm.
Um, but once I, got into my authentic self and learning about it, I realized that they, them are my pronouns, and that presenting femme, which is, my favorite thing, um, didn't mesh with society's expectations of, you know, presenting female.
Yeah.
Um, it's also a bit in the kind of fucked up way, it's a bit helpful when it comes to family members, because there isn't so many questions that I need to ask or I need
Mhm.
to answer. Um, and it doesn't look like anything has changed, even though so much has changed.
Right.
Yeah, you have that freedom to. It's both like a freedom and a hurt, but in a sense to be able to sort of decide when you want to have those conversations and with whom.
Yeah, I mean, it's I'm sure it'll get difficult as it goes on, because there are, thoughts in my head about, certain transitional like surgeries that I want to go through, and that'll be difficult to explain. But the femme presentation on my face is really just my art expression, and I really enjoy it. And also, like I said, drag queen taught me how to do my makeup, and that is really exciting.
Yeah.
And it makes me happy, and my makeup is always like a bit more. um I've learned how to tone it down, but definitely when I was a teenager, it was, I'd go to school looking like a drag queen.
You know what? As someone who learned how to do makeup in stage makeup class in theater, I feel you.
Oh, it's the same exact thing, right? Is you want the person in the back to
Yes.
see you as clearly.
Right.
The same exact thing.
It's the best. So, actually, I think this is a perfect time to remind the world that one, makeup is for everybody,
Mhm.
and two, non-binary can look like anything. So,
It's
yeah, just
not, yeah,
hold that space for us.
it's not just a third box. I think so much of folks who are, really failing in terms of their allyship to queer communities is in the sense that they want easy answers.
Mhm.
They want, you know, X word to mean X thing, so it's easy for them to understand it. And the reality is that so much of queerness is getting to know that individual person and what queerness means to them and what particular identity labels means to them. I get so much garbage shit for identifying as a lesbian, but having like a very complicated, different understanding of like kind of how that identity works for me. And it's just like, you know, frankly, it doesn't affect you,
Mhm.
and you're not dating me, so why do you care?
Right.
And it's like the infighting between our own community of wanting things to it's like pandering to cis het folks, right? Like we need it to make sense so that we're taken seriously. I don't give a fuck if we're taken seriously, but like I, you know, I don't know. Words are hard, but the beauty of queerness is that it's mystical and magical and doesn't always make sense, and it's
Hmm.
just an experience that is something different for every single person. And I wish more people were willing to take the time to like understand it for each individual. We have asked so many people a very similar question to that, and every single person we've talked to has had a different answer. And that's
Yeah,
Mhm.
beautiful,
Mhm.
but it
it really
is
is.
like underappreciated and like
Yeah.
not something people do enough.
the answer of what does queerness mean to you, is that what question?
I was just talking, but if you want to answer that
Oh,
question, you
oh,
can.
oh. Um, yeah, sorry.
You're good.
Yes. So
I was just
for
rambling.
for me it's like a reclaimed word. Um, because queer was used as a word to attack me or my family.
Hmm.
And so I identify as queer because it makes me feel like I'm taking the power back. And it also doesn't matter to you who I date. It just doesn't. Just, I don't know. I'm a date who I want to date, and I'm a date them the way that I want to date them. And that doesn't change anything about me.
Mm-mm.
That's right.
I'm still me.
I
Yeah.
think that people have a hard time understanding that like who you date is not always going to like be an equal sign to your identity. Like, and it
Yes.
doesn't need to be. Like, why do people want to equate those things so badly? It's like just
Hmm.
like
Hmm.
y'all can go do that over there, do your thing. We're gonna just be very magical and mystical over here and we're vibing. Like, what
Yeah,
are you why are you
Exactly.
concerned?
exactly.
If it
Exactly.
doesn't affect the people involved in the immediate relationship, then it really is none of your business. It's
That's right.
it's so complicated, and people really want to oversimplify it just to make their lives easier, and that's
Uh,
annoying.
Surprise, there's no easy answers even for us.
Everything's difficult.
It's yeah, sexuality is so much more than I feel like people define sexuality as specifically the like genders of other people you're willing to date, and I'm like, yo, like, do you know how many other factors go into like
Yeah.
sexuality? It's like it is so much more complicated, and there are so many more facets of that. Like, are you monogamous? Are you polyamorous? Are you like, you know, what
Aromantic,
aromantic,
asexual.
Right.
asexual, there's so many pieces
Bisexual,
to
pansexual.
it's truly, pronouns people perceive like the pronouns don't equal gender identity is a thing that's lost in so many of these conversations. It's just
Yeah.
what and where's the room? Oh my gosh, don't even get me started on where's the room for people who don't know exactly how they identify and what their label is, and that
Yeah.
you're like criticizing them for trying to use like the label that makes the most sense for them right now until they can kind of figure out what works.
Yeah.
And also the room for people who might not ever come out of the closet. And that
Send
is totally fine.
Totally
exactly.
fine.
But it's
Yeah.
so much judgment that they don't feel quote unquote brave enough.
Hmm.
But there just might be there each person is an individual. They
Mhm.
don't there might be there are probably varying things going on that makes them come to the decision or the lack of a decision that they can't come out.
Yeah.
Hmm.
There's so
And
many factors,
yeah,
and
There's
most of
also
them are
fluidity.
unseen.
Your baby behind you.
want the love, want attention.
There's also so much fluidity for some folks for their gender and sexuality, and I feel like almost none of our gender and sexuality labels necessarily create space for that. I
Right.
have people who are so intensely angry when they see somebody who identifies as lesbian, and then they're like, you can't date anyone who is a man, it's only non-men dating non-men, and I'm like, I get where you're coming from, but what you fail to recognize is that there are some people who have vague association with manhood or
Mhm.
fluidity with, an aspect of a male and female, or, there's so many complex identities when it comes to gender that kind of simplification is always going to leave people out. And it's
Right.
always going to like land in the side of transphobia, honestly,
Mhm.
every time, every
Everything
time.
transphobia. Yeah.
Yeah.
And
And
also by defining our identities and going on our journey to identify ourselves, that doesn't mean we're identifying the people that we date. We can't, that's not my job. That, you know what I mean? Like
exactly.
that's their thing. Like, why are you trying to label other people. You just need to calm down.
Chill.
Or when you get,
You need to
well,
work on yourself, okay?
what are they? And it's like, they're them. Well, I don't know
Yeah.
what to say to you. Yeah, but are they like a boy or a girl?
You're
And it's like,
basically asking for like their
their
partner's genitals.
genitals.
That's what you're asking
Yeah, that's
for.
exactly what it is.
Uncomfortable.
It's
Like,
perverse how much our society is like, I need to know this answer, even though it
right,
doesn't affect me at all.
right,
It's
right.
very strange behavior.
Yep.
And guess what? I'm not a boy. I'm not a girl. I'm a threat. Okay.
Oh,
So
bitch.
if that's
I
the answer you're seeking, there you go.
I am your problem now. That's what I am.
You've made me your problem. That's what I identify as.
Oh my gosh. I love that.
I
All
love.
right. I have one more question for you before our time together today comes to a close. I like to ask this to folks when we get a chance and we have enough time. Um, what is one thing you like to share about yourself that no one really asks you about or gives you the space to talk about?
That just because I'm a therapist and just because I learn about how the inner workings of what's going on and that I hold space for other people doesn't mean that I don't also hurt and need support and nurture. Um, I'm a strong person and I know that, but I cannot always hold myself 24/7. Um, and it's hard being a therapist. It is really hard. I hold other people's stories, I hold other people's memories. Um, I it's sad how many times I've had friends who use me for free therapy, and then when I need help they don't reach out because I'm strong or I know what to do. Um,
Mm.
and it makes it difficult figuring out who are friends and who are kind of using my intelligence in this.
Mm.
And yeah, I think I'm trying so much harder to focus on that and get that better. But it is such a difficult thing that just there's so much loneliness in me because it's hard to find friends, and I'm finding them a lot more now, especially, being content creation. Um, but it's really hard to find friends who will check in on me and hold me. And not saying that there's not people, but it's hard.
Yeah.
And that is something that I don't talk about very often, but is something that is one of those like clouds that stays over, that like I really hope this friend will be there for me when I feel um all alone. And I just need someone to like sit on a phone call with me as I play my silly games. um or someone to let me vent. That's a big one. Someone to let me vent, and not turn it around on what they're going through. Um and I don't mean for this to be like a bummer, but
No.
that's,
Not at
it's
all.
I'm not a
very much.
yeah, I'm not a therapist, but this is something that like I resonate with so hardly. Like you're speaking to my soul just in that like anytime you are a friend who is a helper and really wants to
Mhm.
be there for people, and you know are the friend that people ask for advice from, it's like, I'm willing and able to do all of those things, but it would be nice if once in a while someone asked if I had the spoons to do that and asked if I had space to do that and not just immediately assume Yes, I am also an INFJ, Mick.
I'm an
Immediately,
INFJ.
I'm not
Is that
surprised.
the advocate?
I think that
I don't
Is
remember.
INFJ advocate? Because that's what I am, and it wouldn't be. Yeah, it is.
also it's
It's the
funny that I'm
advocate.
an
Yeah,
ENFJ, so
very close, but the extroverted side.
Mhm.
Yeah, yeah.
It's really hard because I feel like people assume that you always have the space and energy, and because I'm the type of person who will sometimes pretty much always put someone else before myself, I will do it even when I don't
Mhm.
have that space. But it made a world of difference when I started finding friends who um, would actually ask and who would let me create healthy boundaries. So like the world of difference between saying, "Hey, I really need your space. I really need some help from you, but do you have the space for that?" And then be able to be like, "You know what? Today I don't, but like I can mentally prepare myself to rally for you, tomorrow. Can we talk
Mhm.
tomorrow?" And then that way I can do what I need to do to get myself in a headspace to take that in and be there for them. And it's
I
it's
definitely,
huge.
yeah, I definitely realized really quick on being a content creator that um, for me, being a content creator and being a mental health specialist, my boundaries have to be really harsh.
Mhm.
And that was hard to develop at first because you're building a community. And for me, building a community on advocation for other people, I want to be there for those people. But after some time, I realized how drained I was because I was listening to people's stories all day, coming home, doing something, video games that were very fun for me. And then, I would have to listen,
Someone would
or I would
trauma dump
choose
and
trauma dump, and I would choose to
Mhm.
listen to that. Um, it was just very difficult. It was very difficult. And I had to put like hard boundaries on that.
Setting boundaries is so good and so important, and
Mm.
I think it's a really good lesson, just like B said, like I do this with friends, I do this with family, and I do this with my community. Like I say, like I do want to be there for you. I will always do my best to do so, but please like just give me a little bit of a buffer, so I can let you know if I have space or not. And if I
Right.
don't, there will come a time that I will. But just, you've got to give people space so they can give you space. Really, it has to be like symbiotic in that way, because just dumping on someone, no matter who they are, and especially if that's your professional line of work, like you can't be doing that 24/7. You
Mhm.
can't have that energy around you 24/7. You got to be able to just sit with yourself sometime. And you're an introvert, I'm learning. It's like me, like I'm like all over the place all the time, but for an introvert, I imagine that you're like, no, 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 I'm ready to go just have me time now.
I'm an introvert, but I'm also, like I said, not a single bit afraid of confrontation.
Yeah.
I just realized like over the years it's, becoming more into my identity as a marginalized individual that my words, you should not interrupt my words and you should not speak over me. And so if I set a clear boundary, respect that shit.
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
you
and it's
know?
learning. I think it's super cool to learn over time that if you set a boundary with somebody and they respond negatively to you setting a boundary, then more so than ever that boundary needed to be set. it's
Yeah.
it's it's actually really telling when you finally, you know, approach someone and you're like, "Hey, listen, like this needs to change because that, is I'm not able to thrive in this relationship because of the, X behavior just makes me uncomfortable or whatever it is." And if that person pushes back on you, they needed you needed to set that boundary with them, because any healthy relationship with someone who really does care about you,
Has
that
boundaries.
has boundaries, and the response should very much be, I love you, I respect you, how can we make this work? Help me understand exactly what I need to do to make sure that you feel safe and comfortable in our relationship. And
Very
that's
much
it.
so.
And any other answer is not good. Also, I need Joe to know they put we clap love clap boundaries, and I definitely read that in my head in the same way as we are farmers, and I read
Ba,
we
ba, da,
love
ba, 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 ba.
boundaries. We love boundaries. Bum ba dum
Ba,
bum
ba,
bum
da,
bum
ba,
bum.
ba, ba, ba.
Oh my gosh.
Uh,
I
yeah.
love, I love.
It's something that, it is hard. I think for those of us who are not as, who are a little more conflict averse for different reasons in our lives, and also even if you're not necessarily conflict averse, I think it's definitely something that is not taught. No one really teaches you that. Well, I mean, it depends on your upbringing, I suppose, but I feel like most people are not taught how to set boundaries, what communicating that looks like, what negotiating, conflicting needs in a relationship looks like, and the complexities of that. And
Well, yeah,
so
this
it's
is what
all
we
really a
should be
learning curve.
learning in school, but instead I'm learning geometry, which I've not used once.
Right, right. Or I
Not
should learn
once.
how to do my taxes, please.
Yes.
Just
Truly.
I
How
don't
And
know
to
how to
save
do my
money.
taxes. I'm probably
Anything.
committing tax fraud and I have no idea. Like, please help me.
truly, it's hard. It's hard, but I think it speaks to your character, to not, speaks to your character to truly be able to like communicate your needs and things with other people. And I've had to do it recently with a couple of people in my community, even. And every single person, I was really lucky that every single person was like, "Yep, nope, I completely understand. No worries." And that just like, that makes my heart sing. Because it's like, you actually respect me as a person, even if the decision that I need to make right now kind of sucks for you.
Yeah.
I think that's
Yeah.
good.
Mm.
It's
Okay,
hard.
one more fun
Okay,
question.
Juvie,
Okay.
go.
One more fun question. What is your favorite video game right now? And what is your favorite video game of all time?
Ooh. Favorite video game of all time is Persona 5.
Ooh, good choice.
I love Persona 5. I could die in heaven if I marry Makoto. Goodness. What a fucking girl boss.
Meech!
We
You
love girl
almost
boss.
made it. You
I
almost,
almost made it.
you
Yeah, I
almost
had to.
made it
I
through
had
the
to.
You
I got
almost
so
made it
close.
through the
I
whole
got
interview.
so close.
That just made me really happy.
um, my favorite game right now, I think, would have to be Stardew Valley. I finally figured out mods,
We got a
and
whimsy
Nice.
farm again, please.
yeah, it was so cute. I just like I figured out mods, and I'm having the most joyous time playing it. And then I also have a save file on my Switch that at night I just play that. I'm just always playing Stardew.
Dad friend group Stardew farm win.
Yep, dad life.
Hell yeah. I don't know. I'm gonna stop.
Meech has gone off the deep end now.
Heck boy counter win. I have to have that on stream.
love
That'd be funny.
your facial expressions when we're playing pew pew games. They're so good, Meech. So good. I look down and I'm like so distracted by the faces that you're making.
I have this like stimming that I do and I've always done where when I'm shooting, my bottom lip like goes down. Like I'm like, well, no, that's dramatic. That's dramatic. But it like pushes down each time that I'm focusing. And it it makes me so embarrassed. I would rewatch my VODs and be like, please stop, stop, stop. Just smile. Just do anything else.
Yes. This morning, I just read Toasty's message, and we were on the phone this morning. I was going to get my tea, and Toasty said, "Okay, but when they hit 3 ups in a row, hot," and I was like, I literally thought the same thing. Oh
Oh my
God.
god. I lure y'all in with my Valorant skills, which are
Truly.
subpar.
No, but like you're the best of all of us, so you get to be the carry in this particular situation. Oh my gosh. All right.
I'm just appreciative y'all want to play with me. It's really fun. Last night was really fun for me, so thank you for even just playing with me.
Meh.
Yeah. Seeing your
Uh,
stims on VODs, please don't look at them. It's very embarrassing.
Why I don't watch my VOD? Simple.
Mhm. Mhm.
oh my
Why watch
gosh.
myself when I can live in blissful ignorance that I look fine?
I look hot 24/7,
Yeah,
believe it.
yeah, definitely. I've never made a weird face in my life, actually.
Never ever,
Nope.
really?
Definitely not while
Mm.
playing Killer in Dead by Daylight.
Oh, totally. You also don't
I'm like this close to the
lean
screen while
forward
I'm
when you get
playing, and
them.
I'm just like, what am I doing? Oh my gosh.
Y'all are goofballs.
We all have our moments.
Definitely.
All right. It is time for us to figure out somewhere we can go send all of the love to
Mm.
that we have had today. Thank you for sharing space with us today.
Thank you so much,
Um,
Midge.
for being
Thank you
here.
very much for inviting me. I appreciate it a lot.
No, you.
This was
um,
wonderful to come back to after we had just a little tiny bit of time off. It was wonderful to
Mm.
have this space with you this morning and just wonderful conversation and get to know you a little bit. And hopefully
Yeah,
you're
now I
feeling.
know you.
I know, isn't
Now
it?
I
That's
know
always my
you.
favorite is like,
Yeah.
so many of our guests are, obviously this is Bee's like passion project that I was
Mhm.
brought into very thankfully. And now it's our project, but so many of the guests Bee knows, and I'm like, oh, this is good because now I get to make more friends that are cool and that
You just like collect.
it's
I
really
love that.
truly great. Our circle continues to expand, and that's what we want, right? Because
Yeah,
we got to stick together out here.
we gotta
and
go stick together.
if any of you lovely humans want to keep up with the show and when we have announcements for who's going to be on and when we post the YouTube videos, we do have a Twitter account just for humans of Twitch that you can keep up to date with the things that are happening.
Follow
Uh,
us. We're lovely.
we are lovely, and we are gonna go pass the Beehive love on. So make sure you grab the raid message. Whether you're a sub or not a sub, there is one with emojis that you can use. And we're gonna go see someone. I don't know them personally, but they are doing art, and I like to watch them when I want really soft, cozy vibes, which I feel like is really nice after
I like
after
that.
chats, and they are drawing little houses with faces and they're really
Oh,
cute. So
that sounds lovely.
I think it's just what we all need after good time chats. So that's what we're going to get up to. Let me go ahead and see if I can type.
Typing is hard. Words are hard.
Everything is
Being a
hard.
human is
Everything
hard.
is difficult.
And as Jupi often says at the end, not only is it, Meej who shared space with us, but all of you who spent time in chat today. Whether you were there from the very beginning or you popped in and popped out as you could, your time is like your most valuable resource you have in life. And the fact that you just like sat and listened to us is really cool. And so I
Really
appreciate all of
warming.
you.
Yeah.
I like sharing this space with all of you. Some of you come by every Sunday and leave the sweetest comments in chat. And although I can't read all of them out loud the way that I do when I stream normally, I read all of them and they contribute to the way that I think about the conversation and the questions that I ask. And truly, y'all are a really important part of it. So. I love you all very much. I hope you have a wonderful rest of your Sunday, and I am going to send us on our way.
Bye, everyone.